And roll. Folks, you're more than welcome back to another special episode of the Friday Flows. Today's a big one. It's always a big one if you're listening to me, but this is a big one. Today, if you've been checking out the old LinkedIn and the YouTubes, you'll have seen that Tynes has launched our brand new feature, which is Workbench. And this is going to be a real game changer, to be honest with you, for any Tynes users and ultimately the future, I suppose, of operations within security teams and IT teams and any team that really adopts Tynes. So I think just before we dig into some bits and pieces on it, I think a high level explanation would be important to start off with. So like the first thing is what is Workbench? Workbench is a AI chat interface where you as a Tynes user will basically be able to access your proprietary data and take action in real time in a safe and secure way. So making it easier, that it's already easier to integrate tools and Tynes, this makes it very easy to obviously integrate and obviously then interact with your tools and your systems and your workflows in Tynes. And I think the context for this is that there, and I'm going to pull up this quote because I thought it was really interesting. We posted it on the Tynes page yesterday. Like obviously with language models up to this point with AI, there's been, I could go to ChatGPT and I could ask it, what is Tynes, and it'll give me a great explanation. But when it comes to interacting with workflows and automation and making, interaction with your systems as you would do in a Tynes platform seamless, obviously that's where it stops. So Workbench is the thing that's going to bridge that gap, right? So if we take a look at this, this is an interesting quote by Vivek Jetley, that the cause of the disconnect between Gen AI and the reality of implementing it in a business setting is lack of integration between AI-powered solutions and enterprise workflows. Right. So that is the problem that we're really looking to solve here. With Workbench, I think some things that will be important to clarify before we start is this is very much in line with having the same security focus as we had when we released our original AI features, which is that, we're built on Amazon Bedrock. With the LLM that we're leveraging is Anthropic Claude 3, but we don't use your data to train the LLM. None of it leaves your tenants. It's runtime AI. So I think that's very, very important, as it's a constant question that we get from customers and potential customers that are looking at Tynes for our AI features. So just understanding that that's always how we approach it. But today, with that in mind, we've got the main man, Michael Tolan from the Labs team, one of our well-esteemed guests at this point. And Michael is going to be walking us through Workbench, and he's also going to be showing us how you might handle a suspicious login in Okta using Workbench. So really looking forward to getting into this. Michael, what's happening, man?
Doing well, Cam. Yeah, it's a busy day for Tynes. I feel like every day is busy, but I don't know, this week and I'd say the next few weeks and months to come are going to be pretty special indeed.
To be honest
Um,
with you,
yeah,
I remember like I had a conversation with you a long time ago about this concept. So it's
yeah,
funny going back then to our walk and kind of the idea was just being thrown around to now seeing it kind of coming out and being live. It's pretty slick. So all comes
yeah,
full circle.
indeed. Yeah, and I feel like the proof is in the pudding, as they say. So we'll just crack into it here. So as Cam was saying, we have like all of our usual ChatGPT AI tools. We also have our like systems, Okta, Jira, CrowdStrike, etc. And the issue is kind of like how do we seamlessly bridge the gap between those two in a secure way, in a like way that makes sense to end users. So very simple use case here. Within Tynes case management, I can see here as a good like starting point, we have a suspicious Okta login for Michael Tolan, logging in from this particular IP. Now, if I was to do this, say manually pre-Tynes, I would need to look up the user in Okta, um, get the information from there. Similarly for the IP, look up that in a few different platforms, get the information together myself, figure out what I want to do, and then take the action. With Tynes before Workbench, we could have a few, like say, webhooks, playbooks in play so that, okay, an alert comes in, we can then extract the information out, send it to a story, and maybe populate the case something like this and potentially take automated actions on that. While that's all well and good, we also like to use the advantage of AI to do maybe a bit more, like say, ad hoc interactions. Maybe we have this story that we might have a few set things that we want to do, but we want to give analysts the freedom to kind of pick and choose how do I want to get this information? How do I want to send information to another platform and take actions there? So bit of a intro in there just to crack into it. So this is our case here. Within Tines, all I need to do is go up to the top right here, click load into Workbench. You can also start off Workbench as a brand new chat. You don't need to start off with like from a case. So if you have any ad hoc tasks you want to do, you can just start carte blanche with that. So I can see here suspicious Okta login. So the first thing I want to do as an analyst is I want to look up that user in Okta. So if I look to the left here, so within Tines, we have the idea of credentials and like giving the user access to specific tools. We want to only allow the workbench to work with the tools that you've given it access to. So we can see that I have a few selected here. If I maybe scroll down to Okta, I'm going to click connect. I'm going to choose an existing credential that I have, all of these stored securely in Tines. For the moment, I'm just going to use the get a user, but you can like click all of these, whatever suits yourself and your team's needs. And I'm going to ask you at Workbench, can you get the details of this user in Okta? So I was going to put in Michael Tolan, but then I realized that because it already has the case context up here, I don't need to specify it, that it has that loaded in its memory. And it can see here that we get the information out from Okta in a very easily readable chat interface. Department Finance, maybe not exactly correct. I think when I put in dummy data here, but we'll ignore that. Based in IE. Okay, so all of this seems fairly standard. Um, let's see if we can can we scan this IP in URL scan? Because we can see that we already have this template enabled here. So it's going to do a search here. So we know that Michael Tolan seems to be an employee and is based in Ireland. And so what we've seen here in URL scan is actually that it hasn't gotten any results. So if I'm an analyst here, I kind of not really sure what else to do. Um, Luckily, the AI actually gives us a few extra steps. We can try to gather information about this IP from other sources. We can do a manual scan, or maybe investigate the context in which encountered this IP address. Now, over here on the left, if you've been paying attention, we have templates and we also have stories. So stories similar to or not similar to. They're the Time stories that you know and love. Um, and what we've done is that we've given you the ability to invoke these from within Workbench like any other sent a story that you could be used to. So we can see here the input. This is where the request comes in from Workbench. We have this story here, which will look up the IP in a few different services, do a bit of transformation, and then send the information back out to Workbench. So we can see here that we have a few of these different stories enabled. We have the same enable or disable process, same as template. So you can give it as much or as little access as you feel comfortable with or want to do in a certain time. So if I go to IP in stories, I can see that I've just turned this tool on. So I would say, can we scan this IP in multiple, if I could spell, that'd be great, multiple services. And hopefully without me even specifying Yeah, so I haven't even specified which tool I'm using. I've just given it the like, hey, can we scan this in a few different services? It's going to look through what templates I've enabled, what stories I've enabled, and then it sees, okay, so he's looking to scan an IP. As far as I can see, this looks like the story or template, which most matches what we want to do. I'm going to click confirm. This is useful if you have like, say, I want to deactivate a user or do something that like proactively does something. You might want to have that extra peace of mind before you click confirm and lock out your CEO from their device. Totally hasn't happened before. Anyway, continuing on here, we can see here. So this IP is actually based in Croatia. And if we scroll up here, we can see, okay, so Michael Tolan is actually based in Ireland. So my geography isn't the best, but this does look a little bit suspicious here. And if I actually go down here, we can see that the AI is giving us recommendations as if I had another great analyst right beside me. So treat this login attempt as highly suspicious, immediately lock Michael Tolan's account if it hasn't been done already, so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure that I have something for this. If I type in Okta in stories, yeah. So what I'm going to do, can we reset his password in Okta? Good stuff. Gonna click confirm. Cool. So we can see that my Okta account has been kind of like reset. So my password has been reset. If someone else was had a hold of my account, they've now been logged out. So we're giving the analyst, I think, an amazing power. I don't need to be jumping into other tools. I don't need to be jumping into other stories. All of this in the chat interface. This also works from your phone. So I don't know, say if you're out getting a bite to eat, or I don't know, say you've just been woken up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning saying, hey, we have this suspicious thing. While I go grab my coffee and fire up the laptop, I can be interacting with Workbench from my mobile phone, taking remediation actions with the power of Tines and Workbench straight from there. So yeah, it's a very quick demo. Hope that I've got the gist of it across. If I haven't, there's should be a ton of extra content both on the website, also in YouTube, LinkedIn. I'm sure pretty much the entire company is going to be shouting it from the rooftops over the next few weeks. So you'll have enough content to keep yourself busy. Um, as a spokesperson for Times Labs and the Story Library, I would also like to shout out if you go to the Times Library by feature Workbench, we can see the story that I've used here. And then we also have a few other stories that we feel that kind of are a great showcase of what Workbench can do with Times to hopefully bring you, your team, and your company a lot of extra value and security.
Awesome. Unbelievable, man. Yeah, like to be honest with you, when I'm looking at that, when to take it right back to the start, Michael, where for anyone watching this and trying to understand, where it kind of fits in the process, especially within security, but obviously you can see the versatility of it there. But like, let's say we have a workflow that is, what I mean, has flagged a high severity alert. We've then created a case based on that. And then obviously we're then taking that, loading the case into Workbench and just the interaction for the analyst in handling that. It's to be honest with you, I really feel that this is another huge step in just in bridging that gap of getting teams to where they want to be operationally without the friction. Like we spend so much time as an industry, especially within the source space, where it's like the technology is so high friction to even get it off the ground and get it running. You spend most of the team's time trying to find people with the skills or trying to upskill just to be able to interact with something. And the idea of using this as an augmentation to an already flexible platform and easy to use platform is just the ability to move much faster without any of the friction. And it's just, yeah, it's a real clear evolution. It's a real